Breaking news, as they have lied to us again about the economy's numbers. I mean, at this point, like, should any of us even be surprised? And the strong consumer that they continue to boast on national television, that was complete BS.
I think what's more important is expectations. Expectations were down again, back into the territory where consumers indicate that they think a recession is coming. And when you look beneath the surface, consumers continue to complain about inflation being elevated, especially food and energy prices. And they're still concerned about the labor market and their personal finances ahead.
But it's not present. So this is all just like the what if scenario, like what if this happens? Is that fair to say?
Well, certainly, yeah, it is what if, but it's over the next 6 months. And we know that consumers are going to be facing some headwinds here. We have the student loan debt repayment that's going to be coming back online. Consumers are running out of that excess savings. Prices are still elevated, wages are slowing, so is the labor market. And so when we see and we put all these things together, plus the fact that many consumers are becoming much more indebted at higher interest rates, this doesn't present a good story for the consumer. So we think that consumers are getting it right and saying, look, there's trouble ahead.
And consumers are right. Trouble is coming ahead. In fact, we've seen trouble these past few years, the present and the foreseeable future. So yeah, there's no way to avoid what's coming for us. But we continue to hear all of this optimism, the great news that the economy is getting back on its feet through a poorly titled economic plan. And we, as consumers, well, we know what's happening when we go to Walmart, to Target, to Kroger's. You know what I'm saying? It's not getting easier for a lot of people. But just to show you how bad the numbers were revised, look at this, guys. So we have the personal consumption numbers. And as you can see, besides the fourth quarter of 2022, all of the numbers that you see here had to be revised down. Not good. So what was the Q2 personal consumption numbers? It was at 1.7% initially, but the revision showed that in reality, it was a measly 0.8%. Crazy drop, huh? That's like 50%. It hasn't stopped the White House from saying that the numbers were good though, because by the time the revisions come out, well, they pretty much don't talk about it as much. So who cares as much, right? Although they've always found a way to try and make garbage look like gold.
President, quote, core inflation has fallen to 2.4% over the last 3 months, the lowest level in over 2 years. But despite the drop, I know families are feeling last month's increase in gas prices. And here was the president's chief economic advisor just a little while ago.
Turning to Bidenomics, we start from a position of strength. The U.S. economy is in solid shape. We must build on the progress we've made.
Let's get something clear about core inflation, all right? It doesn't include energy and food. So the two main things that we buy, they're not even included in this calculation. Like, do they think that we don't know these things? And wait, he said the lowest level in 2 years? You mean the lowest level since he took office, right? I don't think that's something that you can brag about. Tell you what, this community has some of the sharpest minds that I've seen online. So let me just go ahead and ask you guys, do you feel as if this economic plan from the government has been working? If you do, go ahead and type 1 in the comments. If not, type 2, all right? And while you guys are at it, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss out on these updates that they don't want you to see, especially since they're true. Appreciate the love, you guys. And moving on. Climate change continues to be a thorn on our side. And it's not just encouraging people to block roads and all that stuff, but home insurance premiums are supposedly going up, and it's all due to climate change.
Our series Protecting the Planet is investigating how climate change is straining our insurance system. Some say it's being driven to the brink of collapse. We just mentioned there have been a record 23 extreme weather events in the U.S. this year, each causing at least $1 billion in damage. That's billion with a B. First, on CBS Mornings, alarming new data show how disasters are making home insurance unaffordable and in many cases almost impossible to get.
Many homeowners are already facing this insurance crisis in states like California and there in Florida. According to First Street, it's becoming more expensive to insure property because of natural disasters made worse by climate change. CBS News analyzed their data, which found the cities in South Florida most at risk from wind damage, now and in the future, are Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Hollywood, where 100% of homes are at risk for high insurance premiums or losing coverage altogether.
We're at a unique point where climate change is intersecting with economic conditions, including inflation, cost of reinsurance, cost of construction. All of those things taken together are actually costing insurance companies a lot more in regards to the claims they're paying out, which means that they either have to raise their premiums to bring more money in or they have to stop offering coverage.
Coming up in our special report, we'll show you how the risk of extreme wildfires and hurricanes is causing insurance companies to pull out of California and Florida, and the extreme measures some homeowners are taking to avoid escalating insurance costs.
Oh yeah, climate change is driving up home insurance premiums. Can you believe that? Next thing you know, there's going to be people saying you can't go on a diet or you can't attend your birthday party because of climate change. I mean, I don't mean to joke about this, but it feels like as if the climate change situation has been the fall guy for raising so many different prices and premiums. And related to falls, we're seeing the housing market crash right in front of our eyes, guys. You see, pending home sales here, they have dropped to their lowest levels since 2020. Compared to last year, it's down 19%. Can you believe that? Now, this is absolutely huge, and this is due to the fact that mortgage rates are just at a point where people can't get into the housing market anymore. But what are you guys seeing in your area? Are people buying houses like there's no tomorrow? Or are you seeing more people just kind of stay put since they have lower mortgage rates from years ago? I guess it really doesn't help that the Federal Reserve continues to signal that they're going to keep raising interest rates, or at least keep it as high as they can for a lot more time in order to quote unquote tame inflation. And I'm using those quotes as loosely as I can. But speaking of the Fed, did you know that they're also cutting staff? The irony, right? So they wanted less Americans in the workforce, and you know what they say, be careful what you wish for. How many layoffs are they talking about here? Well, they're talking about 300 people. Now, the number might not necessarily be staggering, but if you think about the fact that this hasn't happened before in more than a decade, then you kind of get a, oh crap moment, like where you see that they can't even afford layoffs. So on that note, you guys remember SBF, right? That one-time crypto scammer who's in jail right now? Yeah, that guy. Well, he may not be able to avoid going to prison since a judge just rejected his request to temporarily get out of jail to help his lawyers mount a defense. The judge, which, let's face it, is actually doing his job, said that this guy is obviously a flight risk because he's looking at a long sentence, which leads the judge to believe that he's just going to pretty much book it once they let him out of jail. But what do you guys think? Does he look like the type of person that would run at the first sight of prison time? I'll just go and keep my personal opinion to myself. Nah, screw it. That dude would totally bolt. But it's not all bad news. Well, bad news for SVB, but good news has come for writers as the strike in Hollywood are now coming to an end.
This morning, a tentative deal reached between union leaders and Hollywood studios.
I've been crying for the last 15 minutes. My phone has been blowing up. I just feel indescribable joy.
The agreement coming just 5 days shy of what would have been the longest Hollywood strike in more than 70 years.
When do we want it? Now.
The Writers Guild of America touting solidarity in an email to members and thanking other union members for their extraordinary support on the picket lines for over 146 days. While terms of the deal have yet to be made public, it's reported that the agreement contains most of what was demanded by the union, including increases in royalty payments for streaming content and guarantees that artificial intelligence will not encroach on writers' credits and compensation.
So let's hope that the story ends with a happy ending, and hey, congratulations to the writers for fighting for their worth. So what are your thoughts on today's updates, guys? Make sure to get into the conversation down in the comment section down below. And before I go, I want to thank you guys so much for all the love, for all the support, and I'm gonna see you guys on the next one. Be safe.